that you got off of this first run?
This is a collection of worrisome phrases off the run that's in process now.
Okay.
So in other words, I would not. And one of the reasons we're going to stay in Phoenix and watch the Indianapolis 500 is this is the kind of thing that may that a big event like the Indianapolis 500 or an attack on Washington, God forbid, or any number of news events could all be considered fulfillment of this, but it's like the we got a bunch of weird linguistics prior to the Space Shuttle Columbia, because we kept getting all these things about maritime accident, and so we were looking at the oceans and we forgot about space ships.
Yeah.
And I think there were even references to Columbia, but we weren't thinking about the space shuttle because and honestly, it's one of those things that until it happens to you and you're reading this stuff and you go, oh my God, it is a perfect fit. The problem is, how do we narrow it out from the noise? And that's what we're working on. I mean, Cliff keeps adding layers of processing and trying different tweaks and so forth. I mean, it's like looking at the future through glasses with Vaseline on them, and after a good half a bottle of rum or so.
It looks pretty good.
Well, yeah, it does look better that way. But you see, it's a very strange way to look at the future.
Now, when you're doing all these readings, is the words and the phrases and the information coming out, it must be coming out from the people's subconscious mind, even though they are verbalizing it or however you describe it, on the computer. But it seemingly comes from the conscious mind, but it's got to be coming from the subconscious mind.
Oh, it's the subconscious bleeding all over the place. And that's what's really cool about it, because you're really into NLP and a lot of, things like that. Sure. And the mechanics of it, that's where it's so damn cool. Because what people don't realize is that as soon as they write something, they betray their inner selves. Cliff is, and I keep pushing him to finish this up, Cliff has got a book that he keeps threatening to write and then saying, no, we don't have time before it's too late. And I'm like, Cliff, write the damn book.
Yeah, right.
And it's a form of analysis called SCED analysis. And SCED analysis is the repeated simplification of a sentence until you have distilled it to its absolute essence. And that's the kind of thing that he's trying to get going forward into the web bots. For example, if you really hate somebody and write to them about how you love them, your words like hate will start coming through. I hate not seeing you. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you use words that are non sequiturs to the expression of affection, for example. It's like if you and Arliss were having had a tiff about X, Y, or Z, what would leak through in your writing to your brother or to Bill Pollock or an email to me, something would seem out of place. And we'd go, that's kind of an interesting thing for Alex to write.
Yeah.
And you know how you can read an email going, that doesn't sound like XYZ.
Right, yes.
Okay, what's happened is down at the subconscious level, the essence of that person has shifted. You've read Carlos Castaneda, right?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay, remember how you get banged on the spot between the right and the left shoulder and just so hard and it changes your assemblage point?
Yeah.
Okay, well, in a very real sense, whenever you're hit with a highly emotive thing that happens, it changes how you use words when you're communicating with people not involved in that situation. By the way, just to be really clear, Arleth and Alex get along great. Life is beautiful. But if
yeah, but you better pronounce her name right, or I'm going to be in a hell of a lot of trouble when I go home.
Oh, that's okay. You called me Yuri for 6 months, so I figure I can. No.
Ardith.
Okay. I'm terrible on names. I have to ask Elaine. What's your name again? And she goes.
Yeah, right.
So it's a very interesting science, and when we presented it to the government in November of 2001, and said, "Hey guys, a couple of $1 million, we can at least give you some general hints as to where problems are coming from," and we were politely blown off by all the security guys because you see what they're looking for is everybody in this whole field of data mining is looking for silver bullets. And the way you get a silver bullet is you drill down into every single passenger list until you come up with 3 guys on the wrong passport on the wrong plane with the wrong reason to go someplace. And the problem is that those guys no longer fly airplanes, and they're walking across the border from Mexico. So what are they going to do when they get here?
Yeah, right.
And so this is a tool. We're completely free agents about it. We're doing everything within the law, and we're not opening email or anything else, or targeting psychics particularly. We're just looking at the whole mass of society, and only at things that are published either as news items by news writers, or on discussion groups and open public forums and news groups. And it's still apparent down at the pre-conscious level that there's a linguistic shift that occurs.
Wow.
You're not even letting me get to the good stuff.
Well, it's and we have a lot of time to do that, because I want to get on this stuff, because it's still, and I understand all the things you're saying, and that's what's scary, but it's still the genius that went into doing this.
Well, yeah, on Cliff's website, there's a really cool little $30 product that you can buy called the Vortex Reader. And what this is one of Cliff's ideas. In fact, he patented it, and it's been ripped off all over the internet. But it's really cool.
How come I'm not surprised?
Well, the problem with the patent, I'm on 4 patents with colleagues,
yeah.
And one of the problems with a patent is it's really, really cool until somebody infringes. And unless you've got $1 million to go after him, it's not even worth picking up the phone.
And they know that, and all the patent does is put it out for everybody to look at.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why the guys who are successful at patenting things are guys like IBM, because they really and Vivendi and Vivendi's big in trademarking, and IBM is big in patents, and you step on any of those toes. I never told you about my experience with trademarks, did I?
No.
Oh, this is kind of interesting. I had started publishing little books. I like to write short books, and maybe it's because I'm attention deficit, or because I think if you can't explain something real thoroughly in about 40 or 50 pages, you probably don't know what you're talking about, and you're hiding behind theory.
Okay, that's true. That's very true, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. I mean, there's just to make the case. I exchanged emails recently with a graduate student in business who was having some trouble with a couple of international finance concepts, and I exchanged, I think, 2 emails with him, helping him with a paper he had asked some questions about that he was writing, and I dashed off maybe 5 paragraphs, 10 paragraphs twice. And he got an A on the paper, and he sent back a note saying, basically, thank you very much, but the really sad thing, I learned more in 2 emails from you and reading your website than I learned in an entire semester for $12,000 from this one professor.
Oh my gosh, that's pretty neat, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, anyway, so back to my Vivendi story, or as an old friend said, to make a long story longer. I started publishing these little books, and they're a lot of fun to write, and I write them primarily, for kids or friends. and one of them is how to live on $10,000 or less per year. And you can do that. You can do it very well, but you have to break out of the American paradigm. And the American paradigm is I'm going to work and make a lot of money and buy a car. Wrong. If you're going to live on $10,000, you don't get to own a car.
Right.
So you got to figure out how to get around on a bicycle or a moped or something really dirt cheap, right? So I wrote this book and a couple of other things like, the real first book of sales, how to make a lot of money as a sales guy, and some others. And I put up this website called Jump Start Books because it would give you a jump start on your competition. Well, I got a phone call from Vivendi Universal's trademark department and a very nice lawyer, and he said, that website you have, Jump Start Books, infringes on our trademark for Jumpstart Learning, and they have different things for the young people market that are all banded together under the Jumpstart trademark. And so we went round and round and round, and I said, look, you guys can come after me, and one thing and another. I said, but hey, I'm gonna paint you guys in press releases as great big company, and me just a hapless victim, and you're just trying to protect for your own exclusive use commonly used English words, and sorry, but I don't think that's going to fly.
Yeah.
So one thing led to another, and we settled on a small figure, and I sold the jumpstartbooks.com web domain to them and decided to go off and do something else with it. So I just call it Urban Survival Books because urbansurvival.com I got first use on back in 95 or so.
Right.
So, it's going to be kind of hard now for anybody to come in and say, oh, you can't use that and call it an Urban Survival X, Y, or Z. I can call it an Urban Survival anything I want.
Yeah.
Anyway, so just a little sidelight, about how some of that stuff works.
Uh-huh. Now, it's still this whole thing. Okay, go ahead.
Cliff's deal, $30, halfpasthuman.com, Vortex Extreme. You load text into it, and it flickers words at you. Huge size. You get to adjust the size one letter at a time. And so by centering the words on your computer screen, you don't have to move your eyes. You can take off your glasses because the words are bigger than a billboard, and they'll just flicker the text into your eyes. And because it's flickering and you're not moving your eyes, it gets past the sub-vocalizing. And so in like no time at all, you can, when I'm using Vortex, I wolf stuff down at typically